Hey fellas, your commissioner here, coming at ya for a little week 10. Week 10, is that right? Is that week 10 already of NFL action? Um, Start off here. Well, I guess we don't really need to talk about the Hog game. It really wasn't much of a game. They just kind of pissed down their leg. No effort. No fight. No grit. No toughness. Just let another team roll into our house and just kick the ever living shit out of us. Let them run it up on us. That's just kind of what old Pittman does. So I'll be happy to see him gone by the end of the year. He will be gone. I don't care if we beat Texas, if we beat Louisiana Tech, and if we beat Missouri. He won't be here next year. I promise you. All right. Anyway, so that's all I got to say about that. Hog basketball on the horizon. Of course, tonight, actually, need to get this done quickly so I can tune in. Excited to see how we look in real live action. Of course, we did lose the exhibition to TCU. Close one. Kind of gave it away at the end. That's baseball. What are you going to do? But without further ado, let's just go ahead and get into a recap of last week's games. We'll start off with the Skittles game of the week between was it the Hog Mollies and Kickers Lives Matter? Is that right? That doesn't sound right. Doesn't sound like those two guys would be game of the week worthy, but I think that's kind of why I picked them now that I'm thinking about it. What do we got last week? 6 views. Pathetic. It's fucking pathetic. Yeah, no, it was. All right. Took me a while to chew those Skittles. Sorry about that for the 6 people that tuned in last week. You know what? Instead of focusing on the people that don't tune in, thank you. The people that do, I know Wilson is a plunk, is always right on it. Savoy, Duncan, I think Blaine usually as well. I think those are my 5 guys, not to be confused with the restaurant, that are my consistent week in, week out watchers. So I do appreciate you guys. I really do. And, I hope you guys have great success just as long as you're not playing me. So, anyways, Duncan, huge win for Duncan, 158 to 139, gets himself above 500, 5-4, drops Nick to 4-5. Duncan's now on a 3-game win streak, coming back from 2-4. Conversely, Nick's on a 3-game losing streak from going from 4-2 to 4-5. Nick, he's one of the. This was actually, I think, a really good week. Maybe his best week he's had so far this season's third best. It looked like it's good to see he's kind of turned the ship around a little bit after really struggling the last couple of weeks. So that was nice to see the old scamp there kind of show some life. Unfortunately for him, it didn't result in a victory this time. But, there's always next week, right? So, anyways, for him, it really, or I guess for Duncan, looking at him, Stafford, really good game good game, pretty good game from him. Overtime was huge. Obviously, without overtime, this is a little bit tighter of a matchup. Duncan's probably down to 150, high 140s. Terry, 2 catches, 2 touchdowns. Doesn't get much better than that. Really, it was Ramondre and his 2 tight ends that kind of carried Duncan to victory this week. I mean, Kelsey had his best game of the season, 25 points. Second best game, actually. He had his best game last week against the Raiders. So it looks like they finally have figured out a way to get him going. For Cade, he's been incredible the last few weeks. I think that trend will probably continue, especially as long as Mike Evans is out. Even when he's back, seems like Cade is the new Chris Godwin, slotted into that role in the slot. So Duncan can make some noise now. He's got Purdy coming back from the bye. He's got BTJ on the bench. He's got Jacoby Myers, who's been really good the last few weeks as well on the bench. You'd be curious to address, maybe see if he wants to address the running back room. Maybe flip one of those wide receivers. Just a thought, maybe. Maybe he wants a little bit too much. Maybe he wants a top 10 running back, for a, top 20-ish wide receiver. I don't know. Got an idea? Maybe Brian Thomas is really good. Maybe he is worth that. Maybe he is worth a top 10 guy, I don't know if this is the week for that, for maybe something like that to happen, but maybe next week. We'll see. But next week obviously has its challenges too. So we'll keep in touch. For Nick, Chase Brown, the bell cow back after Zach Moss went down. I mean, they beat the piss out of the Raiders. Garrett Wilson obviously had a great game out there. I mean, it looked like Duck was in trouble. I mean, 31 points from Garrett Wilson on Monday night. 2 incredible, amazing touchdown grabs. But other than that, Tillman's has been really good. One of the better free agent pickups so far this season. He's on quite the heater now the last 3 weeks. Oh gosh, dude. I don't want to see scores. I don't want to see actual scores of games in Sleeper. I have the ESPN app for that. I know it probably would be simpler for me to just look at the scores in Sleeper. I don't want to do that, right? But anyway, yeah, I mean, 19, 30, and 21 the last 3 weeks and then going on by. But yeah, I mean, Cedric Tillman, he looks like he might be legit because he's going to need him because Marvin Harrison looks like poopy pants. He's basically really only had about, 2 great games, 2 good games, and then a bunch of shit games. So very interesting. All the talent in the world, that guy, but you're really kind of leaving you scratching your head sometimes. Maybe I'll take him off your hands for you, Nick. What do you say? We do a little swaps keys. I give you Bucky, you give me Marvin, call it good, right? 13th rounder for a first rounder, right? So look at that value you get with Bucky, right? I'm asking around. Nobody in the league wants Bucky, all right? Now listen, I understand. He played the best defense, rush defense in the league last week, right? I'll get to him. Congratulations, Duncan. Moving on here. Segue. I hold on for dear life the lowest scoring winning team of the week. Check that, second lowest scoring winning team of the week. I believe I was 8th in points for this week. So there's a couple guys who were top 6 who probably should have won and didn't. Nick being one of those. I do hold on 127 to 121 against the Swamp Donkeys to get to 4-5. Also on a 3-game win streak as well from the depths of 1-5. The deep, dark place that I was in just not too long ago. Still got a negative point differential, but still 6th in the league in points for. The stars aligned for me to win this game. I had no business winning this game. I'm just going to be quite honest with you. I think everybody knows that. I'd like to think that this was recompense for the way that I lost to Connor just a couple weeks ago. That's this game, right? Like I talked about it in Discord. I mean, it giveth and it taketh. Unfortunately for me this week, it giveth to me. Blaine is also 4-5, still in the playoffs, still I think a top 4 overall in points for. So still fully in control of his destiny. His score could have ended up being a lot worse. A lot worse. If it weren't for Patrick Mahomes having the best game he's had all season thus far. I foresaw that coming 100%. Finally beat his projection after they dialed it in finally. He gets 39 points, almost a 40 burger for him. And it was quite helpless on Monday night. I mean, obviously, Bucky kind of was, getting game scripted out of the game, even despite it being a close game. It seemed like every time the Bucs had the ball, it was in situational stuff, and they still are committed to giving Sean Tucker, for whatever reason, a couple drives a game, which makes no sense to me. I mean, Rashad White got the touchdown, To me, Bucky's clearly their best running back. He was the most electric out there, but, they didn't give it to him. And, he scores 7 points, 6.9 points, actually, to be precise. Nice. Not nice, but nice. He only got 7 carries, 3 catches for 10 yards. I mean, it's just tough to do anything with that, right? But granted, he was playing the number 1 rush defense in the league. I mean, I saw a stat, the other day that the Chiefs are holding running back rooms on average 10 points less as a total under what they normally average. That's significant, guys. I mean, Bucky, let's just say Bucky gets 7% of that, right? I mean, there's another, or 70% of that, right? There's another 7 points, 13 points. Hey, it's a little bit better. But just sitting there watching Mahomes throw touchdown after touchdown after touchdown, Bucks tie it up at the end. Unfortunately, right? They don't go for 2. They say, you know what? We'll play overtime. Sure, why not? Sure enough, the Chiefs get the ball first in overtime, right? And drive the ball right down the field. Patrick Mahomes, first down. He had 16 passing first downs. Just insane. He threw only 44 times. He threw the ball 44 times. I mean, it felt like the Chiefs had the ball the whole game almost. And they get it down. Kelsey gets tackled at the 2. And they finally decide to keep pounding the ball. Thank God, because if they didn't, I mean, or if it was a QB sneak, I would have probably lost by about less than a point again. Which fortunately they don't do that with Mahomes. And if he threw it in, I probably still would have won. It would have been tight. It would probably have been 126 to 127. So, it was not good. It was not a good feeling. 0 fun, 0 out of 10, 0 stars. Do not recommend. But really, Bigsby did nothing. Olave get murdered on the field. Puka pushed a guy and they called it a punch and tossed him. I mean, if any of those 3 guys are able to get, Tank obviously played the whole game, just for whatever reason couldn't get anything going. But I mean, Olave doesn't get knocked out, I lose this game. Puka doesn't get a phantom ejection, I lose this game, right? Despite, Bowers had a great game, Judy had a great game, Sutton he's been on a tear, Ladd was okay, but my running backs, my core, really let me down this week. I mean, these are the guys that I've relied on. And 10 points from JT, 9 points from Tracy, 7 points from Bucky. Excuse me, just not good enough. It just wasn't good enough. And, granted, they did have, all 3 of them had very tough matchups this last week. But grateful for the win, happy for the win. I think Blaine's going to be okay. I certainly needed this win much more than he needed it. Because even if he loses, his points are pretty strong right now. He's got a very, very good shot at getting that automatic qualifier with most points of the bottom 7 teams. So moving on here, we'll go to doesn't contribute versus Flo's Fury. The battle of Vista Bandits. 158 to 143. Craig pulls that one out. It gets to 6-3. Drops Wilson to 4-5, unfortunately for him. Wilson, I think, is another one. I think he's top 5 in points for, and I think top 1 in points against, I believe. Yeah, Wilson and I have the first and the second most points against. He has the most. I have the second most. The only difference is Wilson scored about, 40 more points-ish than I have. He also hasn't dealt with the injuries and bullshit that I've dealt with. But he got Mike dinged up. Try having a guy like Mike DK, right? I'm not. You guys know my situation, right? I'm not going to complain, right? I won. I shouldn't have won, but I won, right? So I should be happy, right? Good, all right. I get to do my German accent. It's a German game this week. It's a little bit of a preview for you. Yes, I will get more to this in the preview of the week 10 matchups. All right. You got a little taste of my British. It's not very good. It's shite. It's shite. Okay? But the German has been in the lab, has been perfected, and I will give you more of this a little bit later, okay? Anyways, Yeah, I mean, tough loss for Wilson. I mean, highest scoring in a loss of any team this week. I really feel for him. He's had some bad luck, right? Anytime you got the most points against you in a season, that's bad luck, right? It is. And Saquon did all he could do. Lamar did all he could do. I mean, he got 70 points combined between half of his total was two players, and so who dropped the ball, right? Nick Chubb. Sam Laporta continues to just, he had that one good game last week, and other than that, I mean, he's been a lot of single digits this season. Really unfortunate. Really unfortunate. That's bad luck, right? Keenan, he's just kind of mid. He's just kind of hanging around. He'd be lucky to crack 10 points most weeks. Chubb had a tough matchup, but who else was he going to put in, right? I mean, Debo was on bye. Mike Evans is out. Do you start Eckler? I probably, right? But hindsight's 20/20. He starts Eckler. That's 14 more points, and that's almost a W, right? So these decisions, these margins are razor thin, unfortunately. But good for Craig. Josh Allen's been really good the last few weeks. He seems to have found his groove. 4 straight weeks of 30-plus points. Kyron had his worst game. His touchdown streak finally got snapped. Only 12 points. Connor continues to be a workhorse, but now he's finally dinged up a little bit. Finger issue, probably fine. You don't really need your fingers as a running back. But, I mean, he's been great. He's averaging, 20 points, basically 17 or 20 points, except for one game every week since week 4. So you're going to love that. A.J. Brown get dinged up a little bit again. He seems like he's fine. Zay and JSN were really the 2 big stars of the show. Obviously, JSN had his best game of his career. 2 touchdowns, 180 yards, 39 points. Zay Flowers had 2 touchdowns, 127 yards. That's what you need to cancel out 2 guys on the other team getting 70. He does one better, right? He goes out there, almost. He gets 68 out of those 2, 69 almost, probably 70. But for Craig, that starting lineup, man, it's good. It's up there. His bench, hopefully doesn't ever have to. I mean, Booty, he's gone, but QJ, Josh Palmer, Coker. Hopefully you don't have to rely on those guys. But, I mean, Craig's legit. I mean, if all these guys can stay healthy, which AJ's been a little dinged up this season, Connor, you feel like it's been every season he's missed at least a game or 2, right? He hasn't missed one yet so far, knock on wood, right? You'd hate to see that. I don't want to see that. I like James Conner. He's one of my former guys, but I'm just calling a spade, all right? So, anyways, moving on, we'll go with... who was the dog shit team? Okay. Yeah, only one team below 100 points this week. That's good to see. Second lowest scoring was the All You Need Is Love on a 2-game skid. Falls 186 to 106. The battle of the potential horse ass. 2 teams that are 3-6 between Savoy and Rip. Good for Savoy to not be totally in the gutter basement by himself. Drags Rip down there with him. Excuse me, I just had some Davis burgers. So it gets a little, congestion, drainage, whatever. I don't know what it is. But really, I mean, Hopkins, bang, Monday night, 2 tutties. Great game from him. DeMarcus Robinson, that's Savoy's guy. You got to get your guy, right? DeMarcus Robinson had 2 tutties, including the game winner in overtime. A one-handed grab. I gotta find a better chair here. I'm not really digging this chair. Give you a little bit of careful, they'll get you. Ducking it is your fault. It is. You know what you're doing. All right, listen. I get it. I'm a grown up. I made the decision. Okay, but let's just call a spade, right? You and Hayden knew what you're doing. All right, you liquored me up, took advantage of me. All right, hey, I hope it was worth it. All I can hope is that you got some supreme benefit out of it. And thankfully, we were able to take it, right? Because, otherwise, it's tough. It's tough. But definitely a little snake oil salesman of you. You know. And it's okay. Listen, just admit it. Just embrace it. It's fine. I'm just yanking your chain, right? Just like you know, tit for tat, right? Duncan will know what I'm talking about. This probably makes no sense to any of you guys, but Duncan will know, and that's all who needs to know. So, anyways, yeah, I mean, every player on Savoy's team was in double digits. Lowest player was 12.5 for Ingram. I mean, 21 from Pollard, 28 from Robinson, 30 from Hopkins, 23 from Devontae, 16 from Demont, 25 from J.K. I mean, Jaden Daniels had 2 touchdowns. J.K. had 2 touchdowns. Devontae had a touchdown. Hopkins had 2 touchdowns. Robinson had 2 touchdowns. Just really, really impressive. When definitely, I think, the ceiling that Savoy will reach at any game this season, you're seeing it right here. So, no Mason, no Warren, obviously no T. Higgins. Savoy's, he's got a chance, right? He's got a chance. I don't think he's the worst team. I don't think he is. I think his opponent is probably the worst team right now on paper. I don't think it's very much of an argument to be made that all you need is love is the worst team going right now. Goff, he's been flip-flopping back and forth between Goff and Love. They both scored 15 points this week. Not good. Breece Hall's been very Jekyll and Hyde. He had 2 really good games 4 weeks ago. He's had 2 not very good games the last 2 weeks. He had 2 not very good games before that. 2 really good games before that, or 3. So, in theory, he should be due. He should be due for a couple good games, potentially going into the bye. Rip's going to need it to have a chance. Chuba maybe should have been his last dance with Jonathan Brooks seeming like he's going to be active and playing this week, finally. Watson's a jag. Not a guy you want to rely on as your wide receiver. Addison maybe looks like he's squeaky wheel game for him potentially. Kupp, obviously, monster game, took advantage of no Puka. Pitts up and down. Now he's questionable, hurt his hammy. You had to know that was coming, right? I mean, you had to know after his best game of his career that there was going to be a letdown. And Madison's just not the guy, right? He's just not, He's going to have good games on sheer volume alone, but not somebody you want to rely on consistently. And neither do you want to rely on Travis Etienne. Sterling had an okay game. Spent all that money on him. I don't think has he started him once? Has he started him 2 weeks ago maybe? I can't remember. He didn't start him this week. He spent all that money on a guy, and you play him, who might call him the kettle black, right? Carson Steele. But yeah, Likely's out now, already ruled out for the week. Pierce, Jag, J-Mo will be back from suspension this week, so should be maybe a little bit of a bolster to his wide receiver room, but it's not a lot of, this team doesn't spark joy, right? So next we got the Dirty Birds and Living on Burrow time. Another huge win for Connor, 183 to 134. Ho hum, what's new? He's 7-2. Hawk, good game from him. Burrow had 5 touchdowns. Kind of a wasted game. Henry obviously monster game as well. The rest of the guys just mid to bad. Schultz has not been very consistent this season. He's really not even been good, I would say, at all this season. Singletary kind of has been cucked out of that job by Tracy. So he really needs another running back. If only there was a team that you could talk to about that. You know what I mean? You said you want some highlight videos. I'll show you some highlight videos, buddy. All right, I'll get you gassed up. All right, I'll get you gassed up and feeling good. All right, about who I could potentially send your way. All right, so let's just not close the door. All right, let's not close the door. I haven't made a trade. I don't remember the last time I've gone a season in this league and not made a trade. It's been a long time. Well, I guess technically I have made a trade, right? I made the draft day trade for picks to kind of get things going. But to not have an in-season trade, it's been a long time for me. It's been a long time. So, and honestly, my roster up until this point has not really lend itself for me to be able to make a trade. But I'm trying to sort of the waters. Trade deadline's week 12. Week 12. So we got a couple more weeks. But it'll be here before we know it. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not going to break down. I mean, and even if you look at Connor's bench, 17 points, 25 points, 17 points. This guy's good, man. He's good. His team's really, really fucking good. Gonna be tough to beat. Achan, just the freaking little demon monster at football. I mean, Hurts is just, playing out of his mind the last 2 weeks from a fantasy perspective. It's tough, man. It's scary. Scary. I don't want it. But hey, any given week, right? Any given week. And then that brings us to our dog shit. They're up all over themselves. Sleep apnea, needing a CPAP machine. Door dashing all the time person. The McCockners. The Micro McCockners, 88.4 points. I'm sure JD's probably not even going to watch this video. I feel like JD probably doesn't typically watch. I feel like he's one of the folks who sit out, especially whenever his team isn't performing very well, which it has not been over the last month. Because I think he started off pretty hot, right? He started off 4-0, okay? JD started off 4-0, and he is now 1-4 in his last 5 to get to 5-4. So not good, not what you want to see, certainly. Kyler Murray, Call of Duty's out. What does Kyler Murray do, right? Black Ops 6 is supposed to be the best Call of Duty game in 10 years, right? That's what they're saying. That's what the kids are saying on the street, right? And sure enough, the slide starts. Quarterback 12 2 weeks ago, quarterback 30 last week, right? 10 points. DJ Moore has just been arguably, he's just been bad the last 3 weeks, and he had the last 4 weeks, he had a bye in there between one of them. Has had good matchups. Matchups really aren't going to get much easier for him, but that whole offense is just struggling. The Bears just need to clean house. That whole coaching staff just got to go. It's just not good for anybody. Dobbs obviously came crashing back down to reality after the last couple good games he had. Hawkinson's back. Looks like he's going to get going. Looks like he's still spry. Still got it. Obviously Rashad got the touchdown without it. He has a Bucky stat line, 6.9 points without the tutty. But he's been good production, especially for a flex the last 3 weeks certainly. Shakir is going to be up and down. AJ Gibbs, picked up Taysom Hill, didn't play him. This was definitely a Taysom Hill game. I contemplated picking him up. But you look at the bench. Amari was out, dinged up. McMillan was out. Tolbert had a touchdown. Otherwise, a pretty dog shit game. Hopefully Nico will be back for him soon, and that will kind of, and really that's kind of the catalyst, right, of JD's collapse. Nico he's still the wide receiver 16. I think he was probably the wide receiver 1 whenever he got hurt, if I'm not mistaken. And he's been out, the last 4 weeks, and, it's probably no coincidence, right? And I think the week he got hurt, JD also lost. So, he really needs him back badly. To be able to not have to rely on Romeo Doubs anymore, but it's still not a sexy, wide receiver room necessarily. I think Amari will be fine. That Bills passing offense, as good as an offense as it is, there's not a lot of consistent fantasy production from it. Josh has been doing it, and James Cook to an extent. But the pass catchers have been very up and down, very inconsistent. So, and like I said, for Ford, lowest scoring winning team this week, he's in a bad way, right? He's in a tough spot. Dak's on IR. That's obviously going to hurt CD, who banged up his shoulder. Devontae got, hurt his hamstring, I guess, apparently. Pittman's got the back thing, only 2.4 points from him. Wandale's come crashing back down to reality the last few weeks. He hasn't been in double digits the last 3 weeks. But, who else has he had to put in, right? He rolled the dice. All these other guys are dice rolls, right? Franklin, Coleman, Douglas. You're not going to start Franklin. Like, he's gotten so close several times, almost every game, I feel like, where he's going to catch a touchdown and Bo Nix happens to overthrow him. But, Ford's roster right now, it's in a pretty tough state. He's got Kamara kind of carrying him. That's basically the Saints offense goes through Kamara for the foreseeable future. But I think it might be a little tough sledding ahead. I think maybe Ferguson might see a little bit uptick with Cooper Rush. Backups like the nice safe throw. So CD and Ferguson might be okay still. But anyways, so let's go ahead and talk about. Before I forget it, we did have a trade today. Do we have another trade that I might have missed? Talking about. Did I talk about that last time? I don't think I talked about the Blaine and Savoy trade. Obviously, a little bit of controversy. It's probably not the right word to say controversy. Obviously, people were some hard feelings about this trade, right? Savoy takes on Montgomery and T. Higgins, a guy who doesn't enjoy playing football, and a guy who's probably an RB2 at best. For Chris Olave, wide receiver 1, Tank Dell, wide receiver 1 on his team for now, and Isaiah Pacheco. The timeline on Pacheco is very spotty, depending on who you ask, right? Some people say he's going to be back for the fantasy playoffs. Some people say he's going to be back for the real playoffs. I don't know. To me, I've always looked at he broke his leg. He's probably out for the year, right? Effectively out for the year. Tank Dell broke his leg last year. He was out for the year. There wasn't any chit-chat about him coming back, right, later in the season. But, and then Olave gets hurt, right? And that's why we can't really judge these trades right away. But it does look like T. Higgins isn't going to play again this week, right? And Montgomery, we'll see. But, honestly, it is what it is, So kind of a whatever trade. The other trade we had processed today. Did I process this? I haven't. Let me do that. Apologies. I meant to do this earlier. I really did. Anyways, Wilson trades Mike Evans and Nick Chubb for Kareem Hunt and Deontay Johnson. Like I said, I don't know that this is that bad of a trade as some people make it out to be. Personally, I think that Kareem is going to still be the guy. He is clearly the bell cow guy. I don't think Pacheco is anywhere close to coming back. Maybe at the very end in the championship game, if Wilson might not even be playing for anything by then, So Plunk probably will. And so I guess you could make that argument, right? But Chubb has been okay since he's been. He had a major knee injury. Like, he is a warrior and a beast. But I just, is he going to be like a 20? He's probably not going to produce the level that Kareem Hunt's been producing at the last few weeks. Just to be honest, maybe he'll get going later in the season. I don't know, but Deontay, too early to tell with that, right? He's probably the second best wide receiver they've had in there in a long time, besides behind Zay Flowers. I do think that he's going to have some production. Obviously, is he going to have as much production as Mike Evans? Most likely not, right? But Mike Evans is still going to. Mike Evans is going to be out for the next 2 weeks at least, right? Because he's not playing this week. They've got a bye in week 11, and then maybe he's back week 12. So, I don't know. I think probably too much concern, but definitely the optics of it. I can see how people could not like it. So, anyways, waiver wire pick, another eight player waiver wire run, just insane. Khalil Herbert was the big bell of the ball, 31 fab to Duncan. Plunk was in for 7. I was in for 2, just for fun. Wilson picks up Mike Gesicki, 22 fab, just barely beats out Blaine by 5 fab. Blaine was in for 17. Nick outbid himself for Estime, bid 15 on him. Nobody else was in on him. Ford sniped Nick for Tua, gets him for 9. Nick was in for 6. It's always funny to me. It always seems like it happens very often. Maybe it doesn't, but just anecdotally, it does seem like whenever you're really trying to get a guy, especially at the really only at the quarterback position, and you end up having to get your backup plan instead, that it often seems like the backup plan ends up being better than the guy you're originally supposed to pick up. I could see that happening this week. Nick picks up Danny Dimes for 1 fab instead. Playing the Panthers. Hawk picks up Westbrook Akine for 9. Nobody else in on him. I picked up Trey Benson for 1. Just hoping, maybe not hoping not. You don't wish for injuries. Just in case, right? Maybe James Conner gets hurt. I don't know. So, and then Ford picked up Dean McCardo for 1. So again, probably same logic. All right, so it's going to be the game of the week. Give me week 10, please. Blaine does not have a lineup. Thanks for that, Blaine. Has Craig been a game of the week yet? I can't remember. I've honestly lost track of who's been in a game of the week and who hasn't. What's like the biggest ramifications for games? It's not. Really. You got 2 4-5 teams. You got a 4-5 and a 5-4. It probably would be the Swamp Donkeys and Living on Burrow time if Blaine had set his lineup, but maybe he did that intentionally because he knew that was going to be the game of the week and he didn't want to be the game of the week. I don't know. Can't put him back in. I guess we'll just do that one. We'll see. Okay. Excuse me. Start off here, keeping the faith in the two-tone hog mollies. I'm currently projected to win 144 to 109. Nick does not have a quarterback in there at the moment. Of course, he puts in Danny Dimes, right? That's going to be 110 plus 30, so it'll be projected about 142 to 144. Pretty close matchup. I think really my running backs are going to have to lead me to the promised land this week. Obviously, DK on bye, Brock's on bye, Judy on bye. So the lineup decisions for me this week are honestly pretty straightforward for the most part. Just really, I need my running backs to turn it around. I need McCaffrey back. Obviously, it's a huge potential boon. Did he practice today? Pain-free as he returns to limited practice. So, it appears it's still not been activated yet, and I'm sure he will not play a full allotment of snaps. I do agree with that assessment. I think the 25 points is a high projection for him. I think I'll be feeling pretty good if he gets to 15 and just doesn't kill himself, doesn't snap his Achilles on play 1. But I think it's going to be tough. I think 144 is probably a little bit high, to be quite honest. I foresee that being an under. I think Sutton's got a very tough matchup in Kansas City. McConkey again, tough matchup in Tennessee. It's really my running backs got to step up, and they got to step up big. My wide receiver room has been carrying me the last 2 weeks. My band of misfits have rallied around their leader, their coach, their captain, and really performed admirably the last couple of weeks. And I've needed them, and I thank them for that. Now they have some tough matchups. Now they're probably going to need to take a little step back, and the rest of the team's going to need to step up. So, for Nick, he's got a few tough matchups as well, but it should be a juicy one for Mark Andrews. against the Bengals. He had a decent game against them last time they played earlier this season. Looks like B-Rob probably will play limited with a hammy, which would be huge for him because otherwise, he's got Kraft on bye, he's got Tillman on bye, he's got Reed on bye. So, honestly, it's a pretty fair matchup. Monday night guy Waddle going against me, so get to wait that out. I'm sure Waddle will have his best game of the season against me after not really doing shit all season. I didn't play him in week 1, but yeah, I could definitely see that. It's early. I got a player, Tyrone Tracy, in the Germany game. I don't know if it is in Munich or if it is in is Belfast. Is that in Germany? I think it's in Munich, or is it Berlin? I'm not sure. Regardless, we will have our Lederhosen and our Streusel and a big stein of beer, and we will be bright and early to enjoy some New York Giants and Carolina Panthers football. The NFL was so kind to give us 2 of their best teams. Isn't it a nice gift that our wonderful friends, the Americans, gave to us? The Panthers and the Giants. I'm so excited. Can you not hear it coming from me, Klaus? Oh, yes, Klaus, your German correspondent. Further bring that Wood Fantasy Football League. So, anyway, I will say Auf Wiedersehen for now, and I will return it to your illustrious commish. And, I think I've given you enough, right? I've given you enough of the nice German flair. And maybe I will be back later this season, right? Germany always will be back, right? Just like our number 1 export, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I know he's not German, but thank you, Klaus. I appreciate it. I don't know. Let's go with Nick. Nick will win that one. I think he hits his projection this week. I think he's got a pretty good shot. Because if he loses, it's we made a bet earlier this season. If either one of us goes 2-0 against the other one, then the loser has to go to wherever the other one lives and buy them a nice dinner. So perhaps maybe that could be paid out in Houston. Instead, I'll be going to Houston with Nick and Savoy to see Connor. Anyways, next, Living on Burrow Time versus Swamp Donkeys. Hawks projected to win 154-0. Hawk bloodbath, clearly. Next, we got Flo's Fury versus Golden Path. Contemplated this close to making it the game of the week. Didn't want to. Wilson's projected to win 147-144. A lot of red for Savoy this week. A lot of green for Wilson. We're going to go with Wilson on that one. Get a nice bounce back win for him. I think Savoy is probably going to be in the 120 range this week. Next, we got All You Need Is Love. Kickers Lives Matter. Duncan's projected to win 137-133. I think Rip finds a way this week. Rip. Next, Dirty Birds 156-132. Connor. Ford has a player on bye. Punk's projected 156. Doesn't even have a flex. He doesn't even have a flex in there, guys. You kidding me? Jeez Louise, man. That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, yikes. Ford's going to have to... Ooh, fuck. Oh, boy, Ford. He's cruising for a bruising. He is not going to crack 100 points this week. He's going to have to start either Jaleel McLaughlin against the best rush defense in the league or D. McCardo against one of the top 5 rush defenses in the league, a third-string passing down running back. Boy, brother, that's tough. That's a tough pill to swallow. And Pittman's questionable, Devontae's questionable, CD's questionable. Oh, brother. Plunk. Big. Bigger than the election last night. Connor's going to win that one. All right, then that brings us to our game of the week. Craig will appreciate this sponsor. And actually, I picked this sponsor out before I even came to this conclusion, but he's gonna love this. Clinky. Look at that. That's pretty sick, isn't it? Our new fridge makes circle ice cubes. It's pretty sweet. Moving on up, baby. Our screwball game of the week. Screwball peanut butter whiskey. Indulge your inner screwball. Black sheep. Whiskey with natural flavors. 70 proof. 35% alcohol by volume. It's got this fun little stuff there on the inside. You can read all about it if you want. Screwball. This was the official. The commish was comprised of Screwball. I got to thank Craig for putting me onto this several years ago. It's expensive stuff. I can't ever find this anywhere. Anywhere I go, I'm always scanning the wall, looking. Where is it? Where's Screwball? They don't have it. This is a very popular drink. It's really, really good. Look at that. I mean, so cool. Look at that. They got the little stamp on there. Screwball peanut butter whiskey. I mean, what more is there to say? It's delicious. It's just a nice. You put it on some rocks, and you sit back and you enjoy. So anyway, Screwball, the official peanut butter whiskey of the Bring That Wood Fantasy Football League. It's a good pour. ASMR. Cheers. Not quite cold yet, but still good. Anyways, that's the McCockners and doesn't contribute. Craig is projected to win 155 to 140. Battle of the quarterbacks. And granted, this JD's struggling, right? He's 5-4. Craig's 6-3. Looks like he's probably pretty firmly in control of the second overall seed in the bye. But this is a chance for JD to pull off an upset and kind of get himself back in contention. Battle of the quarterback. You got Kyler Murray versus Josh Allen. Kyler obviously playing the Jets. Probably will drop a nuke on him. Call of Duty. Get it. We'll go Josh Allen on that one. Battle of the running backs. You got Gibbs and Aaron Jones versus Kyron and James Conner. I think James Conner's probably going to play. Limited with a finger. Had a concussion check. He was fine. It doesn't really seem like it's really going to be much of an issue for him. That being said, I think this one's tough. I think I'm going to push this one. I really do. I think Aaron Jones is a pretty good matchup against Jacksonville. I mean, look what Saquon just did to him. He's jumping backwards over people. So I'm gonna. You know what? I hate Kyrie Williams. We'll give the edge to JD. Battle of the wide receivers. You got DJ Moore, Shakir, and Amari Cooper versus AJ Brown, Zay Flowers, and Quentin Johnston against the Titans. Oof. Push. If AJ plays, obviously AJ and Zay are better, right? They should clearly by themselves give you the advantage. AJ was, they say he's going to be fine. He was limited. Okay, that's better than DNP. So he's probably going to play. So slight edge, just barely to Craig, but we'll give him the edge. Battle of the tight ends. You got Kincaid and Hawkinson. I'm going to go Hawkinson, my boy. Rock Cock Hawk. The Battle of the Flex. You got Javonte Williams versus Rashad White. A lot of my former boys on this team, man. I'm telling you. Javonte, Hawkinson, James Conner. That's it. But, it's tough for me. Tough for me to see these guys doing well on other teams. So, I hate Rashad White. I got to go with my boy. We'll go with Javonte. Ultimately, I think really for JD to have a chance in this game, he's really going to, DJ, Shakir, Amari, they're all going to have to produce. They're going to have to combine for probably, I want to say 60 at least. I mean, between the three of them, which is a lot. That's a lot to ask for. I mean, probably at least 55, 50. I think for him to have a chance, because I think that Josh Allen has the potential to really run it up in the battle of the quarterback. And of course, despite me hating Kyron, he is good, and Miami's not. And so, connect the dots, right? So, but anyway, I think I'll go with how can you have the screwball game of the week and not go with the guy who gave you a screwball, right? We'll go with Craig in that one to get to 7-3. So, anyways, that's all I got this week, fellas. Hogs playing basketball tonight against Lipscomb. Football's on bye, fortunately. Thank God. Can't lose on a bye. Well, I guess we could. We could have some more people kicked off the team. But anyway, I'm excited to see basketball season get going. Hopefully that doesn't disappoint too. Anyways, without further ado, we'll say good luck this week. Stay safe out there. And as always, whoop pig.